Hey there, welcome back. My name is Avril, and in this corner of the internet, we chat about writing, life, and whatever else comes to mind. Although, for the past couple of weeks, I actually have not been doing that much writing. And while a lot of that is out of my control, I still have that guilt and burnout that comes with trying to get back into writing after being away for a period of time. So in this video, I wanted to have a more casual conversation exploring the guilt that comes with not writing and what I'm planning to do in order to get back into the groove. And there is a helicopter flying over the condo right now. Hopefully that doesn't pick up on the audio. So my historical romance project, A Tided Love, has kind of been on a hiatus. Not an official break per se, but I just haven't been working on it consistently. There have been quite a few things that I need to go back and rework, and I'm kind of gradually beginning to figure out how I want to approach that. But because there is so much that I need to tackle, it's daunting. A major part of that is going back to chapter 1 and reworking the interiority. Because I will be honest, I do not understand interiority as well as I should. And right now, in its current state, I don't really like the interiority I have for Caroline. And it was actually a few recent books that I read that have really caused that shift in understanding interiority and what I want for my book. One of them being Just Friends by Haley Pham, which I have a separate video on, going more into the writing style of the book and $100 words and why it didn't click for me. But it also has to do with the fact that reading through Just Friends and Blair's POV has kind of made me realize that in her current state, I don't like Caroline, my own character. I feel like right now her motives are not that strong and she's immediately clinging on to the idea of getting back with Thomas, even though they haven't seen each other in 10 years and there is a lot of angst between them and a lot of not quite resentment, but unfinished business and not really being able to dive into that as well as I would like. Now, the thought of that is very exciting to me because I can go back and I know what I need to fix. But at the same time, it's very intimidating because there is so much to fix and I don't know how I'm going to do it. And right around the same time, I was also reading Just Stab Me Now by Jill Barup. And that was the book that really made interiority click for me. And while I still have a lot I'm trying to understand and process about writing interiority, and I've got a blog post that I'll link below that goes more into this, but if you're not familiar, the book follows Caroline, who is a writer, working on her first romantasy book after a few romance novels that haven't quite had the reception she's wanted. And one of the things that really sets the book apart is that it has this meta commentary where she will have these one-on-one conversations with her characters in the moment and kind of working through them to figure out where the story is going and what they're thinking in that moment. And that kind of became a writing exercise for me in the past couple of weeks where I've been able to have these sit-down conversations in my head with Caroline and Thomas and Giles and everybody and kind of work through what's going on and the motives and the interiority that I've been lacking. And that's been great. I like having that better understanding of what I want for my book. But the problem is that my book is not there yet, and I need to figure out how to get it there. And we all know the obvious answer is just work on the book and write the book. But that is pretty hard when you are ill. Now, the thing about me is that I have long COVID, and that means that when I get sick, I get sick. And about 3 weeks ago, I got sick. Now, I did test negative for COVID, strep, flu. We were thinking it may have been RSV, I don't know. So I had woken up that Sunday morning and I knew right away I was not going to work. And the fact that I wasn't even going to argue against it is an indication alone that I was not feeling good. Because normally I will be the type to try to push through it and convince myself that it's fine, I'm fine, I'm one of those. And the fact that I wasn't even going to argue and just said, yeah, no, this isn't happening, that was an indication right there. And I knew pretty right away because with me, I'm very aware, hyper aware of these symptoms I have when I have even a touch of something that could be COVID. Texting my boss and saying, hey, this is not happening today. I don't think I can even get out of bed because I was having all the same symptoms I get when I do have COVID. That kind of groggy feeling and the scratchy throat and the coughing and that feeling like my head is just really heavy. And I got it all squared away with him. And then I proceeded to sleep for another 4 hours before being basically dragged out of bed to go to the walk-in clinic to get more testing done and get me on Paxlovid again if it ended up being COVID. It did not end up being COVID. We didn't know really what it was, and I was basically just down for the count. The physician at the walk-in clinic basically shoved the note in my hand that said, yeah, you're not playing tomorrow either, and I did not put up that fight. I'm just, all right, fine. And I was out for about 3 days. I'm still having a little bit of that mushy brain fog feeling here and there. Prime example, I also forgot to mention I had a fever that day, and I think I was running about 100, 101. So not good. Now, because the way my schedule for the week was, I actually only missed a couple of days of work because I called out for Sunday and Monday. I was already off Tuesday and Wednesday, and then Thursday I thought I was good to go, no fever, and I was functional-ish. So Thursday rolls around, and at that point the fever had broken. I didn't have any of the chills, and I was feeling better. And I had convinced myself that, you know what, we're fine, and we're going to push through it. So I get into work, and as the day is going on, I'm realizing that I barely have a voice. That is a problem when you work at an escape room and you do a lot of talking and you can't answer the phone, you can't relay the rules, you can't give hints if the team needs it. And basically, my boss and I compromised and said that once I hit the 4-hour legal mark, I am going home. And I did put up a little bit of an argument about that. I'm pretty sure he was ready to give me the boot within 30 minutes of my getting there. Case in point, I caved and I said, yeah, fine, I'm going to go home. And I was actually out for another couple days after that. That all being said, I know I pushed myself too far. In retrospect, I should have not gone in on that Thursday and given myself one more day. Because what ended up happening is that because I had attempted a couple of intros and had attempted to run a couple of games in my 4-hour stint that I was there, the way my voice was kind of cutting in and out and cracking a little bit, like I got through it, I managed, and I feel like every team had the abridged version of my intro, none of the jokes, and just, hey, here you go, we'll see you in an hour. And because I had pushed myself, I ended up blowing out my voice entirely. I did attempt a couple of games because I'm there and I feel like I have to prove to myself that I can handle this. And that ended up having me blowing out my voice entirely. I remember that the last game I ended up running before I left, my voice was starting to crack like a 12-year-old boy's during the intro. And combine that with the fact that I am wearing a mask and I'm already short of breath and I do have a little bit of a pulmonary thing going on because of the COVID stuff. So I was really just not someone who should have been there that day. So for the next 3 days, I was basically playing charades and texting and not really being able to communicate. And I hated that. So I ended up going back to the walk-in, and I, at that point, could not talk really at all. I had my mom coming in to handle communication on my behalf. And I remember specifically handing over my insurance stuff and my ID and everything to the gal at the desk, and just being like, because I can't talk. And I unfortunately only know like 3 things in ASL, and thank you is one of them. So I was able to at least get that across, but it was just so frustrating, and I did it to myself. And because it was basically a viral thing, they really couldn't do much for me at that point. But they did give me a nasal spray and another note for work that basically just said, hey, you're not going to work. You need to go home and not do anything. And at that point, I was already on like day 4 or 5 of this and had no voice, and I'm just mad. And I just remember that, yeah, there's a whole paycheck thing, but also just I am frustrated that I cannot do anything and I just want to get out of the house and go back to my job and then because of the brain fog and the fatigue, I wasn't able to really focus on anything. And I did attempt to write a couple of times because at that point it was, all right, well, I'm going to be out for 3 or 4 more days. I should get some writing done because I need to be productive because I have this time and I don't know how to do nothing. So I'm going to get some writing done and get some blog stuff done and do some things for the channel because I had actually only started this channel about 2 weeks before this all happened. And then I realized, oh wait, I have no voice, so I can't record anything. I did have a video that I edited and got out, but I could not record anything new. And I had a list of, all right, well, here are things that I can do for the channel without talking. And I kind of realized that, wait a second, I don't need to do this right now. I need to stop and do nothing. But there was a period where I was just trying to figure out, okay, what can I film that doesn't require me talking? Or what can I work on that's book related without needing to really focus? And because I wasn't allowing myself to rest and I was looking for any way to be productive in any writing related capacity, whether that was on my book or the channel or my blog or anything else, and that desperation to do something and not allowing myself that rest, it actually made my recovery period longer. And in turn, made it harder for me to come back to writing in a better headspace. So in that time, I ended up mostly just gaming and listening to audiobooks. I finished Page Boy by Elliot Page and Sherry Frankie's book, The House of My Mother. Now, thankfully, whatever that illness was, it was a one-off thing, but I still have my day job to contend with, and things have been a little chaotic there lately. Right now, we're in the middle of April vacation. April vacation is its own brand of chaos entirely. We're open later, and rather than being closed 1 or 2 days of the week, depending on the time of year, we're actually open every day that week. And things just get chaotic in general in terms of scheduling and how much time I have outside of work for writing. Now, this year, it also coincided with a few changes. I got promoted. I am now a supervisor, but we also had someone leave and other scheduling things going on that made it really, really hectic. I'm filming this on April 21st, and that puts me about halfway through the second of 2 weeks. So we'll have a nice little lull before summer revs up again. But that period of time between now and summer is where I do a lot of prep work for the summer in terms of my writing. As I'm recording this, it's only been a couple of weeks since I was made a supervisor, so I don't have a full purview yet, but from what I can tell, it looks like my schedule will be a little more consistent going forward, and that is fantastic, especially as I am trying to plan my writing time around work and other things I have going on. However, it does mean more hours in general than I was getting as a key holder, and also I don't know what the summer is going to look like yet in terms of supervisor hours and extended hours and all of that. Long story short, it has been a hectic couple of weeks since I last checked in and was able to film anything for the channel, and I haven't been doing that much writing in that time. And I'm dealing with a lot of guilt because of that, because I feel like I should be making more progress than I am, and I'm not. And that not writing and not feeling productive, even though I have other things going on and I'm balancing my writing goals with having a day job and illness and chronic illness at that. And yeah, you can plan for things around like work, for example, but there's still definitely a learning curve with supervising and what that all entails. And when I do feel more settled into supervising and what that all entails, I feel like I'll feel less burnt out at the end of the day, because for the past week I've come home and I've been just so tired and my brain is so mush. I have a friend's project that I need to be beta reading and I've been slacking on that. And I haven't worked on my own project either. And it's hard. And I struggle with navigating that, I'll be honest. On the one hand, the book will not write itself. I know that. But at the same time, how good of a book will it be if I'm not feeling my best when I'm working on it? And not feeling as confident in the case of A Tided Love, where there is so much that I want to go in and tackle, but I'm just having that imposter syndrome again. I'm not giving up on that project. It is kind of on the back burner for now. I have another project I'm kind of playing with as a bit of a palette cleanser. And I feel like this is something I've always struggled with as a writer. And I feel like a lot of that internalized guilt also comes with things like being told to write every day, no excuses, and the book won't write itself. And while the latter is definitely true, I have come to disagree with writing every single day, because that is a one-way ticket to Burnout Town. And I don't want to reside there any more than I already do. I feel like I already have a timeshare in Burnout Town, and I don't want to become a permanent resident. Now, if you've made it this far into the video, first of all, thank you. But you may also be wondering kind of what the plan is going forward and how I'm going to be trying to get back into the groove of writing. And to be honest, I don't have a plan. I feel like right now I've been mostly focused on my blog and getting that all ready for the summer. For the past couple of years, I've ended up taking what I call a half hiatus from blogging, where I'm only posting on alternating weeks. And I'm trying to get a little bit of ahead because I know that things are going to get crazy this summer, especially now as a supervisor at work, but also because I want this summer to be really prioritizing my fiction projects again and using that time to really figure out what I'm doing. And on a more general level, I feel that blog posts tend to be easier for me when I am coming back from not writing for a period of time. They're easier to work on in small chunks and don't require the same level of continuity that a book does. Because with fiction, you have your character backstories and world building and all of these details that you need to have in the back of your mind as you're moving your story forward. Whereas with a blog post, I don't have to have all of these details about one thing when I'm working on this other post about this other topic. They are kind of separated. You know, a blog post is just this one contained thing. It's a bite-sized chunk of writing that I feel is better for me to get back into the groove of it, as opposed to this whole, I need to go back and rework this entire chapter because it's going to affect the narrative going forward. If that makes any sense, I really hope it does, because my brain is still mush. And that all kind of goes back to something that Andrea J. Severson was saying in one of her recent videos about slow progress being progress. And something that I've been trying to hold in the back of my mind as I've been trying to get back into writing. In a way, I've kind of lost sight of that because I feel like I'm not doing enough with my writing, because I have all these other things going on. I have this health thing going on. I have general human upkeep going on and my day job going on and all the chaos that comes with that. So I think right now I'm really just looking forward to May and having a chance to slow down and regroup before things rev up again. So right now, I think my plan is still focusing on the blog and getting that ready to go for the summer so I can step back and get into fiction again. I don't know if that fiction is going to be A Tided Love or if I'm going to keep that kind of on the back burner like I have been and focus on a different fiction project that I haven't really fully gotten into on the channel yet, but that will come. I've kind of decided that I'm not making any big writing decisions right now, but taking it day by day and not really setting any big impending goals. Like go back and redo the entire first chapter of your book with revised interiority and figure out Caroline's stuff. But instead, hey, let's write another paragraph. Like today, for example, my plan is to finish recording this, and before I edit, I'm going to look over a few chapters of my friend's project, and then if I'm feeling up to it, kind of figure out my plan of the blog posts that I want to go up in the summer. While I was sick, I was kind of playing with the idea of, okay, well, I'll have the month of May, and I can set this really, really big goal for myself, and I have 5 seconds of the summer coming up, and that'll be the perfect deadline. Have all this stuff done before the concert, and be able to just, charge ahead with that. But no, I'm not doing that. And I'm not doing that because it's going to put myself in a position where I'm going to feel guilty again because I did not achieve that goal. I feel like when we're talking about goal setting, it's a very common approach to focus more on quantity over quality and how many words we've written or how many chapters we have done by the end of the month instead of how do we feel and how are we taking care of ourselves as we're writing. And I don't want to fall into that right now. So instead, I'm focusing more not on how much I'm getting done, but how I'm feeling as I'm doing it. Because I know that if I set myself up to have all these quantifiable goals and I come up short in any way or feel less than productive in any way, I'm going to be back right here talking about guilt and feeling less than because I haven't been doing anything productive, even though rest can be productive and rest is not reward. And I keep telling myself that, but I also keep ignoring my own advice. So if you've made it this far, thank you so much for spending a little bit of your day here with me. And I guess this is the part where I tell you to like and subscribe for more writing, life, and whatever else comes to mind. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.